Satnam, yogis and yoginis, hello and welcome back. One more stream. Welcome on this day, 6 of 6 of 24, which adds up to 6. And such a interesting coincidence, 666. What does that mean? Is that the number of the beast? Is this an evil number? Let's reflect upon this a little bit. Let's talk about the numbers. And we are doing a course on numbers. We're doing a number 5 right now. But, since such an interesting coincidence of 3 numbers being number 6, it's maybe worth to explore this number 6. Let me see 1 second. Let's see if everything is on. Satnam, Satnam. I'm not seeing any message, but I'm not sure if it's connected. Let me just check 1 second. Oh, yes, it's connected. Sanam, Satseva, hello, welcome. I was just getting an error in the computer. It doesn't want me to talk about the 666. The computer was rebelling. It was telling me that I was not alive, and I'm really alive, so never mind. But yeah, hello, Satnam. Let me know, did you have this association with the number 666 in India? I know you are from there. I don't know if they talk about this at all. But what does that mean? Does it mean that somebody who is born today, they have a grim future ahead of them? Well, I mean, the short answer would be no. But let's go a little bit deeper into that. What does the number 6 mean, and why 666 should be considered evil in some particular way? So first of all, from a perspective, Satnam Misty Wood, hello, good to see you online today. You're always replying in the videos, but it's good to see you online, so good to see you here. So again, I'm not an expert on the number 666. I know about numbers, but I've never studied this. It's just today I'm improvising. I really haven't prepared anything, so I'm just improvising here. But feel free to let me know if you know things about it, if you know where does the 666 come from, then I think there is some connection to the Bible and so on. But feel free to say it in the chat and we can discuss it. From a numerological perspective, no number by itself is evil, even though evil itself will have a number. Yes? So everything in the world, in the universe, has a number, and we can associate a number to anything. So evil can also be associated to some number, but no number by itself is going to be evil. In fact, every number is going to have, let's say, a karmic and a dharmic side to it. So to say that one number particularly is evil, that wouldn't make much sense from a numerological standpoint. You can even look at it like this. Today, somebody who is born today, Sat Sri Akal, hello, Infinity, good to see you. Good, welcome to the stream. So somebody who is born today would have these 3 6s. 666. What does that mean? Does that mean that everybody who is born today is evil? Of course not. It doesn't make any sense. So just like in the same way that when we have a date of birth, we don't analyze it. We don't do readings from a perspective of Karam Kriya. We don't do readings. Because many people born in the same day, even in the same minute, if you wish, they're going to have very different expressions of those numbers in their lives. And those numbers will manifest in one way or another, depending on the person. And the numbers will be there, but they are not going to go only in one of the directions. Sorry, don't know about 6 and the way it is seen in India. I know 13 is a number that is not preferred. Yeah, and lucky or lucky sometimes, depending on how you look at it. Yes, I know some places. The old airplanes would not have the row 13. I remember in Spain, row 13 would not be in the airplanes, would go from 12th to 14th. And every culture has different numbers. I think in China it's a different number. I don't know if it's number 8 or number 4, I'm not sure now. But it's a number that even some buildings will not have that floor. It just goes from one number to the next. So that's quite interesting. And this says a lot about the psychology of humans. We associate some mystical properties to something, same for hotel rooms. Yes, exactly. So we associate some mystical properties to things like numbers, for example. And just by itself, the number is going to have some qualities, but just to assume that those qualities are going to be evil, that's a judgment that we impose on the number. Judgments come from the mind, so of course we project that from the mind onto something. Satnam, Sohail, good to see you here. Well, we have quite a few people here interacting all at once, getting us, all of us together. And yes, so interesting, because I was just thinking, number 6 is connected to the number of community. 4 and 6 are connected to community. So look, here we have a good community of people all together, right? Talking today. So interesting. But yes, we associate things, and we tend to pay attention to patterns. The human brain is extremely good at recognizing patterns. And so we find patterns even when there is not, when there is just coincidences, then we extrapolate and we try to think that this is something truly special. And, I remember I had a student in yoga class who one day I don't know what he was doing, but he looked at his watch, and it was 11 hours, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. And then he thought it was something so special. And then from that day onward, every day he wanted to remember that special moment that he had. I don't even know how he felt it was so special, but he would put an alarm at 11, 11, 11 to ring so that he could be, oh, it's 11, 11 again. And the alarm would ring in the middle of the class every day, because he was in the class that it was from, I think it was 10 to 9 to 11:30. So it's like, or 9 to 10, is that? Yeah, 10 to 9:30, to 11:30, I think it was. So every day in class, it will be beep, 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 beep. And you're like, even sometimes during the relaxation, which is like, come on, cannot you just switch off the phone or the clock? But to him, it was important. And this is the thing, numbers, they have qualities by themselves. They are highly interpretable. You can interpret things in one way or another depending on the vision of the person who is looking at it. And then we want to find patterns where there are no patterns as well. And we will get attached to that pattern and extract some kind of meaning. But there is qualities in numbers, and therefore we can study that. We can observe, let's take a look at the qualities of 6 and the qualities of 3 sixes together, and we can try to extrapolate something out of that. But already interesting that I'm talking about patterns, and the number of patterns would be number 3. So we say when we do something, one thing, there is no pattern. We do it twice, and there is a sign that you are repeating something. But it's when you do 3 times something, you have created a new habit or a new pattern. So number 3 is the number of patterns itself. So saying something like a number, like number 6, giving it 3 times in a row, 6, 6, 6, that's 3 numbers, that creates a pattern in a way. And that patterns can create a lock on us. So when you have 3 things, when you have 3 dots, that already implies some sort of triangle. And triangles are figures which tend to lock us. Yeah, there is a lock. There is like a prison. We may get locked into the prison. So if I'm talking about patterns, for example, you do something 1 time, you do something 2 times, you do something 3 times. Be careful, because the moment that you do something 3 times, it's much harder to stop then. Once you started to do it 3 times in a row, it's going to be much harder. So if that's a pattern that you don't desire, you have to be careful about that. If it's something that you desire, you have to, make sure you do it 3 times in a row to start with. And that starting is going to be propelling you forward. So it's going to be easier to carry on if you have started the engine like that. So number 3 would be associated to these 2 patterns. So that's one concept. And this structure of the three things, in this case we're talking about 3 sixes. We could draw it like this if you wish. I'm truly just improvising. I haven't prepared anything for today, so I didn't even know what we were going to talk about today until my sister just sent me a message and said, "Oh, I did a little Instagram post on the 666." And I'm like, oh yeah, today 666. And so I'm just improvising on that. But regarding structures, when you have a structure like this, having a structure has a lot of uses, is useful. Structure is useful, is linked to number 3. 3 and 7, we know they are connected. Those numbers which add up to 10 are connected. So the structure that 3 and 7 gives is useful. 7 is the mind. We talked about this in the last course. So the mind is useful as long as it is useful, right? As long as what the mind is saying is useful and you are capable of, let's say, mastering your mind, directing your mind to what you need it. So there is a use to this structure. Then when the structure is not useful, when the structure is holding you back, is locking you inside, then is when it becomes a jail. Like for example, with the mind is very useful to establish goals and create strategies to get to your goal and finding a plan on how to move in that direction and analyzing and understanding the signals around me so that I can move in that direction. These sort of things are very useful. The mind is useful for that. Now, when the mind directs its attention to signs that to prove that I am incapable of doing something, or that I am not allowed to do something, or that I am doing something wrong, that's when the mind turns around and then I become the jailer of myself. The ego is jailing my own self in capital letters. So the very same structure which would give me opportunities to reach my goals, utilized in the wrong way by these ego mind games, it becomes my own jail. So we have to be aware of that. And that's something that I'm going to be paying close attention, that I always do this with numbers. When we explore any number, to make sure that we often always the dharmic expression and the karmic expression. Dharmic, yes, the 3 has a structure and is going to be useful in some way. Karmic, that structure can be limiting us and it can create some sort of jail and I can be imprisoned in that jail. So that's something to take into consideration with number 3. If we go to number 6, because we are talking about 3 6s, well, number 6 itself, I said the evil is one number, but it's not number 6. I will go into that in a moment. But number 6 itself, if we think about the body, like for most of you who are yogis, you will recognize it's associated to the third eye, the 6th chakra. Look, third eye, right? 3. And the 6th chakra, 6. So here we have, again, an association with the 3 6s. That's another interesting thing. And look, I'm just noticing that I drew this triangle, which is a symbol that is often utilized for some particular mystical meaning. Yeah, often associated with some sort of enlightenment, the capacity to see something that is beyond, something invisible. You would associate this. You can see this pyramid in as a symbol. You can find it in money, in dollars, in America, I believe. It would be utilized as a symbol of some secret societies like the Illuminati, and I'm sure this will be associated as well to the 666 in some particular way. But that's interesting when you think about this as a human. This is the person sitting here. Yeah. Then this third eye, the awakening of the third eye, is so stressed in the mystical literature of the East, that the opening of this center is going to be very important for our awakening of many things that come afterwards. It's, if you're going to have some spiritual experience, you're going to want to have some sort of understanding of it. And the understanding of a spiritual experience cannot happen in a logical way, in an intellectual way. So it's not the mind that is going to have to perceive that, but it's actually an intuitive sense, an intuitive perception that is going to get us the right understanding of what's happening. So in order to facilitate that intuitive perception, a lot of the practices will put a lot of emphasis on this point. So typical, meditate, focus on the brow point. Why would we focus on the brow point? Because you want to open this center so that when an experience comes, you can perceive it intuitively, you can understand it intuitively. This is the reasoning. So interesting that you would relate the third eye, and the number of the eye, by the way, would be linked to number 3. We have been doing a course on number 7, and we talked about how 7 is connected to vision, like the 7 colors of the rainbow, or the 3 primary colors. The 3 is also connected to vision. So having the triangle and connected to the eye is very interesting with number 3, but then connecting it to the 3 sixes, that would be also interesting. I feel like interesting is a word that I'm going to be using a lot today. I generally use that word a lot because it's something that it shows my curiosity for a subject, but I'm not willing to give any sort of judgment on that. So I find it interesting, but what does that mean, right? So it interests me, it grabs my interest, it's interesting, and I'm going to pay attention to that, but what does it mean? What kind of understanding am I going to get out of that? Or what kind of analysis can I get out of that? Or what kind of judgment am I going to meet on that? That comes afterwards. So, all right, so when we go to the 6, and the first thing that we connect would be the 6th chakra and intuition. Well, this perception, and we are associating it to vision right now, this is the capacity to see the unseen, to see those things which are not visible. The third eye gives a capacity to perceive possibly something that is still to happen, that hasn't happened yet, so perception into the future. That's something that it's often connected to the intuitive perception. Oh, something is going to happen, and you have a vision of that. But it goes beyond that. It's not just perceiving something that hasn't happened. Number 6 is perceiving the invisible. So, for example, if I'm talking to someone and they are telling me something, and they may be secretive about what they are saying, so they are keeping something secret inside. It could be secret, it could be sacred. Yeah, but when we are hiding something because we don't want to show it, and remember we're talking about vision right now, so something that is not shown is kept invisible. And so somebody is telling me something, but my intuition may tell me, well, there's something beyond what they are saying. And I can also have a sense of feeling of whether there is a truth in what they are saying or not. Because when we go into the realms of the 4 and the 6, which are connected, 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, so they are going to be connected. They are connected with this capacity to perceive the truth. 4 is the heart, Ek Onkar Satanam, Satanam, Sat being the truth. So I'm connecting to the truth, and the intuition linked to the heart. If I am opening my heart and I perceive through the intuition whatever somebody is telling me, you have a certain perspective of what truth is behind that. What is the truth that is behind that is hidden, that is invisible in some particular way. And that is the dharmic expression of 6, that capacity to perceive intuitively what is the invisible thing behind, and what is maybe the perception of secrets and something sacred. That comes through the 6. So the sacred and the secret are both connected. Yeah, they are hidden and they are both connected. Interesting as well, as I'm saying this, I'm just here, I'm just going connecting themes. I'm just connecting threads, and I realize I'm going quite fast. If you need me to slow down, feel free to slow me down. If you are in the chat right now and you want to check with me or ask me anything, just tell me in the chat that I should slow down, because my Spanish blood sometimes takes over and I start go really, really quick, especially when we talk about 3, which is fire, and the heat of the fire is increasing my third eye, and I'm perceiving things and I start connecting them and I can go like a locomotive here, too quick. But if we're talking about sacred and secret, let's take the sacred aspect for a moment. A person who has been in contact with the sacred. I'm using my language very carefully. If you have started to study numbers, you will recognize that when I talk about being in contact with, I'm talking about the sense of touch. And in this last Tuesday, we did a video on the 5 senses, and I just mentioned how the 6 is related to touch. So, I'm just spelling it out. Normally I wouldn't do this, but since I'm, talking about numbers, it makes sense that I do this. If somebody is in contact with a person who is intimately in contact with the sacred, we could say that's a saint. A person who is a saint is going to be somebody who has an intimate connection to what is sacred in life. I don't know if that would be a proper way to, not to define a saint, because I don't think you can define a saint, but a way to recognize a saint would be to perceive that there is something in them that they are in contact with the sacredness of life and of the universe, let's say, to be a little bit hippie, let's say. I'm talking a little bit hippie today. But look, a saint, you can recognize a saint by the halo, this light that is around the head. And it goes from earlobe to earlobe, and it's from the perspective of Kundalini Yoga, is considered the sixth spiritual body, the arc line, which is a line of light that goes from earlobe to earlobe. And those saints, whether they are Christians, Muslim, Hindus, wherever, doesn't matter the religion. It actually doesn't even have to be religious. A person who is cultivating that has this radiance that it comes from this arc line. Now that arc line is associated to the sixth spiritual body and linked therefore to this chakra also. And look, the radiance is light, and light is connected in some way. It's a different kind of light, but it's connected to the light of the fire. The 3 is associated to the fire. Again, if we see the diagram we were doing on Tuesday, we would see that 3 is related to fire. Fire gives light. So we are talking how there is a connection between the 3 and the 6. They are both connected to light. I remember now, the very first video I did on this channel was one about 60 degrees. I was explaining why do we do meditations with the arms in 60 degrees. And I did the second video I did was the Karam Kriya aspect of that one, and I was connecting the 3 with the 6 with the 0 and connecting it to light. Let me read the message. I remember a certain period in my childhood. I had a crazy synchronicities daily, many times of number 69. It wasn't because I was focused on it, it would appear everywhere, but then it stopped. Why is that? Yes. So I can say a couple of things on that, and I think it's connected to what we were just saying about patterns. The brain, 3 and 7 actually, the mind, is extremely good at recognizing patterns, 3. And the mind works in that way. It learns through recognizing patterns. If you are studying something, you're reading something, some book, it understands the pattern and then it gets encoded. If we just try to memorize information, we're extremely bad at it. In fact, the brain is designed not to memorize, but to prune the connections between the neurons, so to make it more and more efficient. So it's all about perceiving patterns. Now, it could be 2 things. Yeah, what you are saying, infinity. On one side, sometimes the patterns don't have a meaning, don't have any particular meaning. And just because we notice the sign, like this student of mine that I was 11, 11, 11, he recognized the pattern and he got obsessed about that one. And I don't know if he ever did anything with that, but he was like looking for that everywhere. And then when you're looking for something, you are much more keen to finding it. So I've had many students of numerology who will say, for a period of my life, I could see the number 12 everywhere, or number 13, it would be the number of my house, but then I would see it in the plates of the cars around me, and I would see it in my telephone number, and then somebody... Well, sometimes it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it's just that our brain is designed to recognize patterns, and we just become aware of it, and then we become overly focused on that. That's one thing. But then there's another thing, which is maybe that number is calling you to something. It's just that very often we don't know what they are calling us to, those numbers, or we may interpret it in the wrong way. What does 6 and 9 mean? And yes, 6 is the opposite of 9. If you draw it, that's going to tell us something. Actually, today we're going to talk a little bit about this, about the 6 and the 9, because I don't know if you tried it, but today we are talking about this number. 6 plus 6 plus 6, that's 18, which is number 9. And we know that 9 and 6 is is the same number the other way around, turn around. Yeah, today I was telling my daughter, who is sick, by the way. I have my little one here at home today. She didn't go to school, so I will probably cut this video a little bit shorter than usual. I will not go on too long. But she was saying, Daddy, you're going to talk about the 6? Well, 6 is like number 9. So she was reminding me that they are connected. We say that they hold hands. In Karankriya, we say they hold hands, these two numbers. So I can imagine that infinity, for a period of your life, a part of you was just seeing this connection of the symmetry between the 6 and the 9, which are these two numbers that are turning around. Satnam Hai, Wesley Curry II, welcome. You're in the Omni barcode marks. The Omni shall be branded, burned into your skin, a barcode. Are you talking about something about the 666 and linked to barcodes? The Omni barcode has two numbers in the barcode. What is the Omni barcode? I don't know what that is. If you can explain us. But yeah, so we are recognized to noticing patterns. Sometimes they don't mean anything. They just mean that the brain is ready to do that. Sometimes they may have some meaning for us, but we are not really understanding it. And we may be caught into that. And maybe sometime in the future, we will recognize what that means. But it may come later on. 100%, but it wasn't related to reticular activating system of the brain. It was like searching for me rather than me searching for it. Literally everywhere, way beyond chance. It was kind of scary. Yeah. The other number shall be 666. Most of you shall take the branded barcode called the Omni. Sorry, Wesley, I still don't know what the Omni is. If you can explain a little bit more clearly what the Omni means. I haven't heard of this. Comes with a satanic temptation. I don't know what it is. Can you clarify it? So infinity, I recognize, and this comes linked to the number 6 as well, intuition, because intuition is seeing what is invisible. Now, maybe the invisible wants to talk to you. Like you are saying, you weren't looking for it. It was looking for you. Now, how does the invisible connect to us? Well, through the intuition. There's no way to relate to that. So we may be seeing many numbers around us and not giving any particular interpretation, or we may have an intuitive feeling that those things are connected. Now, if you have an intuitive feeling that they are connected, they may be telling you something. Now, when it's a number, it's very difficult to understand unless you know numbers and they make some sense to you. But I can recognize there was a period in my life when I started seeing many signs of Japan. They were calling to me. They were a Japan advertisement in my mom's house when I came to visit her. But then outside of my house, they just put a big billboard with Japan. And then I was like, a leaflet under my door, visit Japan. And it was very, very clear that I had to go and live in Japan for a while. And so I did that, and it was an incredible experience. And I really treasure having been there for those months. I learned a lot. So that was great. So in that case, it was more clear. I could understand it. I had an intuition and I could understand it. Sometimes we just see a number and we may not understand it. Let me see, Wesley is writing. All who take the Omni mark shall become lunatics, whom eat the flesh of children. The 666 in the barcode called Omni is the 666, the number of the beast that Jesus Christ warned you all about in the Holy Bible. One night you were in your bed, and for a few moments you should not move. This happens to you all on 2 specific dates. Well, Wesley, you are going on and on, but if you can slow down and we can have a conversation. I'm happy to have a conversation on this, but I'm not sure what you mean by Omni. Let's slow down what you are doing. Just tell us what this Omni is. And October 10th, 2005 and March. I don't know what you are writing. Where is this coming from? And I don't know what you are doing with that. So help us have a conversation. I'm happy to include you in the conversation and we can have a good dialogue on this. Yes, you keep writing, but please slow down and let's conversate on that. Yeah, let's converse on that. So number 6, as I was saying, this is the perception of the invisible, the perception of something, and that conversation you can have with invisible may be in an intuitive way, something that doesn't make any sense. I didn't know why I had to go to Japan. I didn't have any friends in Japan. I didn't speak Japanese. I had not looked for it. It looked for me. So that's a way that we may be called upon something. I don't know how the number 69 would call you, but that would be something that we are talking about. It's like, why is this number coming to me? So Wesley, the Lord shall... What are you doing, Wesley? Look, guy or girl, I don't know. Listen, Wesley, you have to slow down. And you, if you want to write, I'm very happy to interact with you in the chat, but you gotta have some interaction. Otherwise, how do I know you're not a bot and you're just spamming this and you are difficulting the communication? So I'm gonna have to do something. If you don't, if you don't stop all this thing, you talk about vomit. You are vomiting all this information to us, and it's not even a coherent conversation. So I please ask you one more time to stop this and let's have a conversation rather than just putting all this information. Otherwise, I will assume you're a bot. You are just some AI. I went a little bit crazy and is just taking over the chat. And I wish to keep the chat free so that we can converse. Thank you for considering it. Well, 666. Okay, so we explored a little bit about the 6 in the dharmic sense. 6 is this perception of the sacred and the secret and intuition and seeing where you can get to, yeah? The transparency of vision. It would be also connected to destiny because we don't really see where we have to go. So this perception of the destiny would have to be something, the perception of the invisible. Yeah, the destiny is invisible to us. So we can associate destiny to number 6. And so when we are looking at the karma and the dharma of things, the karmic aspect of the 6 could be the opposite of destiny, meaning fate. When we live life as some karmic existence, things happening to us, we have no control over them, and they are actually controlling us. Which is interesting again because the word of control is number 3. So it's like something is controlling us. We are locked into this pattern. We are grabbed into this cage of the 3 6s. And then rather than being oriented towards a certain destiny, we are locked in our fate. That's an interesting topic, and we will explore more the difference between fate and destiny when we get to number 6 in our training, when we are exploring the numbers. But yeah, that's a karmic side of the 6. Another karmic aspect of the 6 is when we something that we didn't see it come. Yeah, we're talking about the perception of the the invisible, and something that we didn't see. Okay, let me hold on. Okay, so Wesley, you carried on with this. I asked you to stop. I'm gonna have to stop you manually. I don't know very well how to do that, so please, guys, wait a moment. I'm not gonna ban you straight away. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes timeout, and then if you continue with this after 10 minutes, then I'm gonna have to stop your messages. Yeah. All right. So. Yes, okay. It's probably some AI. Nowadays there's lots of artificial intelligence and bots trying to sabotage videos. It had not happened before. So, it's a good sign. I will take it as a good sign that this is happening. Anyway, we will give him 10 minutes to calm down. If it's a person, then maybe when he comes back, maybe he's more capable. Otherwise, we will ban him. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's continue with this. Now, I mentioned that there is a number for evil or for something that is like the beast, the number of the beast. Now, the number of the beast is not number 6. It's actually number 9. If we have to give it some particular number, it would be number 9. Number 9 is the number that we call it the monster or the master, the demon or the diamond. So, again, we are not saying that anybody born on the day 9 is a demon. Thank goodness, because I was born in day 9. But it just means that energy is there. So when a number 9 appears, is going to challenge you whether you can tune into the quality of the demon or you're going to tune into the quality of the diamond. Which aspect of it are you going to tune in? For example, 7 is the mind, but 9 is madness. So if you let the mind go again and again and again with no control, the 7 goes into the 9. It's something that we were exploring on Tuesday as well. The 7 wants to jump to the 9, but because he hasn't done the whole journey, 1, 2, 3, 4, and cross through the 8, if it goes from the 7 to the 9, out of the 7 being out of balance, then when the 9 comes, it's kind of like madness. Infinity says, one meaning I gave it was related to yin-yang symbol. But I was asking you, since today's topic is about 6 and its reverse is 9, as you said, so I'm curious if you know a meaning of their combination. Yes, there is a lot of things about this. And we're not going to go in too much detail today because we're going to do it a little bit brief. Also because it's a little bit, we are out of place. In the training, we have done number 7 in detail and we are starting number 5. So to go into the 6 and the 9, it would feel a little bit rushed and we would not have the language to communicate it very clearly. But I will say a few things. I'm not saying this just to avoid talking about it. I will say a few things that it connects the 6 and the 9. And we can see it right here. Now, let me make it more clear. When we are writing the numbers in the 3x3 diagram, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is a 4. When we explore this at the beginning of the course on numbers, we said that this is internal and this is external and this is the in-between and this is personal and this is universal and this is more like the social. And here's where we find the 6 and the 9, but not only the 6 and the 9, look, we find the 3 as well. And there is a particular link between these 3 numbers, which is very interesting. And we just find it here, look, the 3, the 6s, and the total is 9. So very, very interesting. But again, there is a dharmic side and there is a karmic side. Maybe we will explore this more in detail in another video, okay? Maybe I'm going to think about this because Tesla had a lot to say about these 3 numbers, and he had this. I remember I'm not going to say anything because I would make a mistake right now, but I think he was saying something how these 3 numbers were so important to understand something about the universe, or they are the most numbers to understand, or something like that. But yes, sorry. There is something very, very interconnected in these 3 numbers. First of all, these 3 numbers are about relating something to the outside. So for example, number 3 is the number of the things that we do in the world, the actions that we do out in the world. Number 1 is inside of us, is the first number, so it's the more inner, is the soul. Number 3 is the actions that I do out there. It's not a coincidence that is connected to the 3rd chakra, which is your navel, and is the impulse to go and do things outside. So 3 is my behavior outside, and 3, ek onkar, 3 would be also connected to karma. Yeah. This is kar, ek onkar, it would be related to karma. But kar is also the vehicle. It's like a vehicle to move outside. How do we move outside? I'm just saying qualities of the numbers. I'm not trying to analyze it. I'm just saying the qualities. Okay, that's number 3. My relationship to the outside through actions and the karma that I generate through those actions. Number 6, as I mentioned, this is our intuitive sense, which is something about the perception of the outside. The 6 looks outside, looks out. The 6th chakra looks out. It's not about going inwards. Going inwards is number 4. When we connect number 4 and 6, 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 4, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. 4 is going inwards and 6 is going outwards. When you are closing in, is like a flower that closes. The 6 is like a flower which opens. The symbol for the 6 is a flower that is fully open. So 6 is going outwards. And you go outwards and you perceive the outside through this 6. Again, not anything from the outside, the invisible world, let's say, from the outside. what is not visible. So it's a perception. We call it extrasensory perception, because this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when we look at this is what we were doing on Tuesday, they are associated to the 5 elements and to the 5 senses. So when we go to the sense number 6, that's the intuitive sense, that's the extra perception, the perception of something that is extrasensory perception, something that is outside of our regular 5 senses to perceive the world. So that is also showing that it's going out. And number 9, the demon or the diamond, the master or the monster, this is the outsider. This is the outside and this is the outsider. This is the weird number. This is the alien. If you ever felt like an alien, if you ever felt out of place, if you found when you were little, you were the weird one in the class, that everybody seemed to fit with each other and you found yourself outside of them, pay attention whether you had number 9s in your date of birth, or 9 or 18 or 27, things like that, which add up to 9. Misty says, when you add them or subtract them, they relate, whereas the other numbers don't. Sorry, what do you mean? They relate, whereas the other numbers don't? Sorry, I don't understand. But we can add numbers to relate them to each other, like we did with the 666 to give them 9, but I'm not sure if that's what you mean. So these 3 numbers, which they are in everyone, all numbers are within every one of us, even if our date of birth maybe has a stronger number in the date of birth, like a friend of mine had 4 9s in the date of birth, 9 of September, and I don't remember now, but it was like 4 9s in the date of birth. He's going to have an extreme relationship to that number. So when you add 3 plus 6 is 9. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's also connected in that way. 3 plus 6 is 9. Because that doesn't happen here or here, yes? 2, 5, 8 or 1, 4, 7, it doesn't happen. We were talking about this part of the diagram when we did on the course on number 7. We were doing the how to bring thoughts into action. You may remember that if you were here in the video. I'll just show it for a moment. We were exploring this side of the diagram, but we didn't explore this side of the diagram. So that's why I'm thinking maybe it's worth doing a video specifically about this area. But then my friend with 4 9s, while I was doing my PhD in Scotland, and I lived with him for a while, he was my flatmate, and he finished his PhD in something like 9 months. Again, number 9. I just picked it up, but it was like, wait, a PhD? How? In 9 months? It's like, it was crazy, crazy. The word crazy, that's number 9. So obviously for him, number 9 was not a demon in that sense. It was more like the diamond. He had found a way to master his mind, to study it to such degree he would work and concentrate until very late hours of the day. Late hours, the number 9 is the last number, so it's the late hours. So number 9s are also linked to, wanting to stay up until very late and waking up very late as well, possibly. So that's how number 9 connects as well. But there is some other dharmic qualities to the 3, the 6, and the 9. Now, you were talking, Infinity, about the 6 and the 9. Let me just say one more thing that may be interesting to you. This is the demon or the diamond. Well, number 9 is the master of the monster world. The master, let's take the master. 9 is the number of the guru as well. The guru number. And a few times during the last videos, I've been expressing this concept that the life is very simple. That there is some natural intelligence guiding everything that happens around us. Some primary intelligence that is higher and superior, and it just guides existence. This is what I feel that is God, that intelligence that guides existence, that guides it in a way that goes beyond the possibility of probability. So when something happens, it's like, oh, it was probable that it would happen, it's a coincidence. No, this is when things happen, these synchronicities that you were talking about before, that make you feel that there is something beyond the realm of possibilities that is guiding this universe in some way. That intelligence, that primary intelligence, that's what I would say is God. Yeah, some people will define God in many ways, like universal consciousness or supreme divine energy or something like that. Everybody has their own definition. My own relationship to it is like this intelligence guiding the universe and everyone inside. Well, look, if there is this guiding intelligence, and we can either live aligned with that intelligence and live in harmony, or try to make this our own way and create all sorts of ripples in the peaceful ocean around us. Yeah, as we try with our effort, and you would have to translate here effort with ego, right? With my ego, I want to do things my way. I'm going to cross through it. I'm going to be the victor. I'm going to get to victory, whatever you think your victory is. You set up the rules of the game. This is the 7 steps to hell. Set up the rules of the game, and you go and invest all your soul into that game, and you put all your energy in there. Well, that's going to create ripples because you are fighting against nature, and you're fighting also against your own nature. But we got disconnected from our nature by the very existence of Maya and our ego deciding to believe what Maya does, what Maya produces for us. So we got into our ego. That would be the 7 linked to the 3, creating the karma. So we are talking about this axis. Yeah, the 7 is the ego with the 3, that is the karma. So we are talking about this axis. This is the axis of karma, and this is the axis of dharma. Now, as long as we are aligning here, we do things the way we think they have to be done, and then we keep creating karma until we recognize that there is something higher than the 7, which the 7 has a great difficulty to recognize that there could be something higher. But if you can, then you can see that where are the ideas coming from. Now let's just, if you did watch this video on thoughts, manifesting thoughts, if you want, you can check it out later. The concept was like, yes, I have a thought, something that I want to do, but where is that thought coming from? What is the seed idea, the origin? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from a demon or from a diamond? And we have to check that before we want to manifest a thought, because otherwise it could have karmic implications. So you can live in this karmic line, or the moment that you recognize that there is something higher than the mind, then you can switch to the dharmic line. And look who is in the dharmic line. The soul and the spirit connecting. This is the soul and the spirit, which is not the same, but they are connected as well. And the spirit connecting to this, potentially the diamond, potentially the master, potentially this primordial intelligence that is guiding the universe. How do we know what to do? Yeah, we want to do this. We want to do this switch. How can I align myself in a way that I can walk the path of Dharma, that I can stop creating ripples? How can I do this? Well, in order to do that, I have to pay attention to the messages that I'm getting that are going to guide me into this dharmic line. These messages, this is what you can call the will of God, if you wish. But again, remember the way I define God, for myself at least. So there is this intelligence guiding everything, and you can tune in to what does this intelligence expect from us in this moment where we are right now. That's what we call the divine will or divine command. In Indian, in the yogic teachings, you will find the term hukam. Oh, Invictus. Hukam. So hukam is this divine order that comes from the 9. Now, 6 is my intuition. When I tune into this 9, can I intuitively perceive the hukam? Yeah, so it's, look, this is my third eye, let's say. There is something higher than all this, some mystical intelligence guiding the universe. Well, this this higher intelligence, this number 9, I'm going to perceive it through this 6. This is the potential that can happen. So if I tune into that and I tune in through this intuition, then I know what kind of dharmic action is going to come out of that. Because this is action. It doesn't have to be karma. It can just be a dharmic action. So this is the alignment that I need to perform. And the thing that is, so that's the switching from this line to that line. Now my soul is going to be aligned with my spirit to listen to the hukam and then receive the intuitive understanding of what it means so that I know what kind of action I have to do. Well, look, I just did it. I said I would explore it in another video, but that was the opposite of the 741 through the 963. And that dharmic action, it can even go down to the 1, because this when you align yourself and you intuitively know what kind of action you have to do, that is gonna how do you say that? Seep, like when water, you put water on a cloth and it starts seeping, it's going to seep down into your 1, into your soul, into the deeper. The moment you align yourself with this hukam and you start doing those kind of actions, then you start to feel your soul getting aligned with that. Let me just do one little second, a little pause. 1 second. Yes, Sadna, I'm sorry for the interruption. I mentioned that my daughter was sick and I would have to cut it short, and she was just telling me she feels bad. So I'm just going to cut it short. I just want to make one more point and before we stop, because we still haven't found out this number of the beast. How is this connecting to all of that? I mentioned I will try to explore the dharmic and the karmic of everything. Well, if this was the dharmic side that I was exploring, the opposite is also the sign. The opposite is also true. So 9 being the demon, there is some demonic energies, the same like this higher intelligence which guides us. There is demonic energies, demonic vibrations that are trying to pull us into a different alignment. That's a different kind of 9 that is pulling us out. Now, number 6, just like I said, the dharma was to see the invisible. The karma is you don't see it coming. You are not going to see it coming, and it's just, and it is shocking. It's like when you do, oh my God, you know, that we hit our forehead and we say, oh, I knew it. Why did I do that? Why did I go into that? I knew I didn't have to do it and I did it. And then it's like we hit ourselves in the forehead. This is the number of shock and crisis, number 6. And then the consequence of that would be 3 being in the jail and the karma and being trapped into this jail. So you see, these 3 6s connected in this way are connecting in that way to the number of the beast in that particular way. What this is telling us is that, look, you can choose to live unconsciously. And if you are not conscious, you're going to align to the lies that people want to sell you. Lie, by the way, is linked to number 3, because it's it's like a mask that you put on your face. Máscara, we call it in Spanish. It's like a mask, máscara. It's a different face. In Spanish, it's cara. Oh, sorry, cara, a different face. So people put you a different face. They are telling you a lie. And if you don't have the intuitive perception of what is truth and what is not, remember, truth would be this line, actually. This is the line of truth and consciousness. And if we are closed in our hearts and our third eye, if we are not conscious and we align ourselves to this line and we perceive a lie, then we are tuning into this different energy. We believe the lie, and then we are caught into this tragic prison, if it makes sense. So it's not telling us about something that's going to happen in one particular day. I don't think so. But days like today are reaffirming this energy of the 6. 6 can be shock, surprise, crisis, paralysis, or awakening, seeing the invisible, and intuitive perception of where your destiny lies. And then 6 is consciousness. So with that consciousness, 4 and 6, 4 is in the heart, and the 6 is opening of consciousness, like the flower opening. As this consciousness awakes, you can choose to align yourself with a different 9. Not with a demon, but with a hukam. And that with that alignment with that 9, then you are in contact with the divine and with the sacred. The 6 becoming sacred, your arc line starts shining, you have some radiance, you see things clearly. People see that you see things clearly, they don't know why. And then there is this radiance, and your cheeks are going to be pushing up like the Buddha cheeks, going up. This number 6 connected here. So it's like the smile is going to come from the joy of having found a true alignment to align with. I am reminded now of the Japji that Guru Nanak wrote, Japji Sahib, where he says, the first part of the Japji is saying, listen, listen, listen. He's saying, Suniya, Suniya. Well, first he says, hukam, there is a hukam, he says. There is a divine will. And then he says, listen, listen to it, which is basically what we do in meditation. We try to listen. And he says, and when you listen to it, now obey. Now, Nusuniya and then Maniye. So there is a divine will. If you pay attention, you will listen to it. When you hear it, then you obey and follow it. Because when you follow it, you stop creating ripples and you live in harmony with nature and with everyone around you, and everything is much, much easier. That is all for me today. Sorry to cut it short, but it was hopefully, short. It's been an hour, but my videos tend to be much longer than that. If you enjoyed that, feel free to give it a like and share it with others. And blessing is the number of 6. So blessings, blessings, blessings on today for you, Satnam. Until next time.